I honestly never thought I'd be the guy writing a post like this. I've read a lot of stories on here, mostly thinking, damn, how do people not see the signs? But here I am, sitting alone in my half-empty apartment at 2 a.m., realizing I was blind the whole time. My name's Jake, I'm 34, and until recently, I thought I was happily married to my wife, Claire, 32. We'd been together for 9 years, married for 6. Claire was always the outgoing one in our relationship. She's got that kind of energy that lights up a room. She's sharp, witty, and honestly, a bit of a firecracker. That was part of what drew me to her in the first place. I'm more of the quiet, stable type. I work in IT, remote, full-time, decent salary. She works in marketing for a local firm, though lately, she'd been spending a lot more time at the office. That's where the story begins. At first, it was little things. She started wearing perfume again, like, the expensive kind she hadn't touched since our honeymoon phase. She'd come home later than usual and blamed it on last-minute client meetings or traffic. And yeah, okay, I get it, life gets busy. But then came the locked phone. She used to leave it lying around, totally open. Suddenly, there was a passcode. And not just that, she started taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. I remember one night vividly. She got a text at 11:30 p.m. Her face changed when she looked at it, just for a second, but I noticed. I asked, casually, everything okay? She smiled, too wide, and said, yeah, it's just Marissa from work. Her dog's sick. I nodded, but something felt off. That gut feeling? It kicked in right there, but I pushed it down. I trusted her. Looking back, that was the beginning of the end. We used to have Friday night date nights. Lately, she was too tired or had a girls' night. I tried to be understanding. I didn't want to be the jealous, overbearing husband. But the distance between us was growing, and no matter how hard I tried to close it, she kept pushing away. I just kept telling myself, it's a phase. We'll get through it. She loves me. Spoiler alert, she didn't. To be continued in part 2. It's wild how sometimes the truth is right in front of you, and you still miss it. A few weeks after that weird text, Claire left for one of her girls' nights. Normally, she'd go out around 7 p.m. and be back by 11. But this time, she left at 6 and didn't get back until 1:30 a.m. No call. No text. Nothing. When she finally walked through the door, she looked surprised to see me awake. "Oh," she said, setting her purse down like she didn't have a care in the world, "you're still up?" "Yeah, Claire. Because I'd been staring at the ceiling for the past 3 hours wondering if you were okay or lying in a ditch, or worse, in someone else's bed." I didn't say that, of course. I just asked, how was Marissa? She blinked, confused. "What do you mean? You said you were going to Marissa's place tonight." Her eyes widened, just for a fraction of a second, and then she laughed. "Oh, right. Yeah, she wasn't feeling great, so we just went out instead. Grabbed a drink." I remember every single word of that moment. Because the next day, I saw something that cracked the illusion I'd been clinging to. I was doing laundry, hers, specifically. I know, call me old-fashioned, but I like taking care of things around the house. That's when I found it. A receipt. Bar tab. 2 cocktails. 1 whiskey. 2 entrees. 2 people. From a rooftop restaurant downtown. A place we used to go for anniversaries. It wasn't a girls' night. She was on a date. My heart dropped into my stomach. I felt like someone had punched me in the chest. I just stood there, holding that receipt like it was a death certificate. I wanted to scream, but instead I just folded it, put it in my pocket, and sat in the kitchen, trying to decide what the hell to do. I wasn't ready to confront her, not yet. I needed more. Something undeniable. Something she couldn't laugh off or twist into one of her pretty little lies. That's when I made a decision I never thought I'd make. I was going to check her phone. To be continued in part 3. I always believed that trust was sacred. That once you started checking your partner's phone, the relationship was already dead. But that night, as Claire showered off whatever perfume she'd worn to impress another man, I stared at her phone sitting on the nightstand, mocking me. It was locked, of course. She'd changed the passcode a month ago. Claimed she was just being more secure because of a weird phishing scam at her work. Seemed innocent at the time. But now? Now it felt like a fortress built to hide something from me. So I waited. The next morning, I told her I dropped my phone and cracked the screen. I asked if I could borrow hers to order an Uber while mine was charging. She hesitated, for half a second too long, but handed it over with a smile. "I trust you," she said. That line hit me in the chest like a bat. I forced a smile and went into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. I opened her phone. To my surprise, she'd forgotten to relock it after Face ID kicked in. Maybe she was too confident. Or careless. Or maybe she wanted to get caught. Her recent messages were clean, too clean. No text history older than a day. No suspicious names. But I wasn't stupid. I checked the recently deleted folder. That's when my stomach turned. There were dozens of deleted texts. From someone named E1 Reed. "Last night was perfect. Can't stop thinking about you." Another said. "Wish I could wake up next to you every morning instead." That one nearly made me throw the phone against the wall. I scrolled more. Pictures. A hotel room. Claire in lingerie I'd never seen before, posing with a glass of champagne, clearly taken by someone else. There was a selfie, his face partially visible in the mirror behind her. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat down on the cold bathroom floor, the phone still glowing in my hand, my heart caving in on itself. I'd been lied to. Not just lied to, betrayed. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to my email. I knew I couldn't let her gaslight her way out of this. Not this time. I walked out of the bathroom, handed her phone back, and kissed her forehead like nothing had happened. She had no idea that the countdown had begun. To be continued in Part 4. I didn't confront her that day. I needed time to process, to think. I went to work like normal, but my mind was spinning. I couldn't stop looking at those screenshots. The messages. Her face in that photo. The way she smiled, so carefree, so comfortable in someone else's arms. That night, I barely spoke to her. Claire didn't seem to notice, or didn't care. She scrolled Instagram on the couch like everything was fine. At one point, she even showed me a meme and laughed. I faked a chuckle. I was playing along, but inside, I was boiling. The next day, I cracked. She was sitting at the kitchen island, sipping her oat milk latte like the queen of casual. I stood there, phone in hand, heart pounding. My voice shook, but I got the words out. "Who's he?" She looked up. Blinked. "What?" I said, I repeated, more calmly than I felt, "Who's he?" She tilted her head like a confused puppy. "I don't know what you're talking about." I opened the screenshots. Held up the phone. "These. The ones you deleted. The ones you took in a hotel room." Her face changed instantly. Not shame. Not guilt. Annoyance. "Are you going through my phone now?" she snapped. "That's a complete violation of my privacy." I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe how fast she flipped the script. "Claire," I said, trying to hold my ground, "you're cheating on me. I saw the texts. I saw the photos." She crossed her arms. "So what if I was talking to someone? You've been emotionally absent for months. Maybe if you paid more attention to me instead of working all the time." There it was. The classic deflection. "You cheated," I said again. "Say it." She stared at me. Cold. Unblinking. "I made a mistake. One night. That's it." "Lie." I showed her more screenshots. More messages. She looked, paused, then said, "Fine. It wasn't one night. But it didn't mean anything." Another lie. She stood up, walked past me, and muttered, "You're being dramatic." I couldn't breathe. My wife just admitted to months of betrayal and called me dramatic. And I realized something horrible in that moment. She didn't regret cheating. She regretted getting caught. To be continued in Part 5. I wish I could tell you that after she admitted it, there was some kind of breakthrough. That she broke down crying, apologized, begged me to forgive her. That we sat and had a real conversation like two adults who once loved each other. But no. That didn't happen. What happened was nothing. After our confrontation, Claire just walked into the bedroom, slammed the door, and didn't come out until the next morning. No apology. No tears. She didn't even try to explain herself. It was like I was the one who had ruined her night. The next morning, she acted like everything was normal. She made coffee, turned on the news, asked me if I'd fed the dog. I stared at her in disbelief. "Claire, what the hell are you doing?" She sighed dramatically and rolled her eyes. "Jake, I told you everything. What more do you want from me?" "Remorse," I said quietly. I want to know that you actually care about what you did." She shrugged. "People make mistakes. If you're not mature enough to move past it, that's your problem." That's when something in me snapped. I realized she wasn't just lying, she was manipulating me. She wanted me to question myself. Make me feel like I was being unreasonable for not immediately forgiving her betrayal. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid there next to her, listening to her breathe, wondering how long she'd been sleeping with another man while lying to my face every day. I kept thinking about all the little moments she'd stolen from me, every fake "I love you," every night she said she was working late, every kiss that meant nothing. And she thought I'd just get over it. But I wasn't going to let her rewrite the narrative. Not this time. The next day, I took the day off work. While she was out, probably with him, I went to the bank and opened a separate account. I started documenting everything, the messages, the receipts, the hotel bookings I found through her email on our shared iPad. She forgot to log out. I wasn't just some heartbroken husband anymore. I was building a case. I didn't know yet whether I was going to leave her. But I knew one thing for sure. I was done being played. To be continued in Part 6. Up until this point, I thought the worst part of Claire's betrayal was the cheating. The lies. The gaslighting. But I was wrong. The worst part came from someone I didn't even know, him. It happened a week after I confronted her. I hadn't left her yet. I know. Some people reading this are probably yelling at their screens. But when your entire life is built around someone, you don't just walk away in an instant. You freeze. You try to figure out what's real and what was fake. I was still in that fog. Then I got the message. It came through Facebook Messenger from someone named Ethan Harper. The profile picture looked vaguely familiar, maybe I'd seen him in a tagged photo on Claire's feed once. I didn't respond right away. My stomach tightened, like I already knew it was coming. Then I opened it. "Hey. I know this is going to sound insane, but I think we need to talk. I've been seeing your wife. I didn't know she was married. I only found out a few days ago. I'm sorry." I reread it 10 times. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I responded. "What do you mean seeing? Like, how long?" Ethan replied almost instantly. 5 months. I met her at a work event. She said she was separated. That she lived with her ex while sorting things out. That was the moment I knew she had created an entire alternate life. I wasn't just her husband. I was the background character in her affair story. Ethan offered to talk on the phone. At first, I didn't want to. But curiosity, or maybe desperation, won. We spoke for an hour. He told me everything. Where they met. The dates. The hotel she always insisted was for client meetings. He even described a scar she had on her shoulder, the one I used to kiss every night. He wasn't angry. He was hurt. Just like me. He'd been lied to, too. Manipulated. Played. When we hung up, he said, "I'm really sorry, man. If I'd known, I would have never gone near her." And I believed him. For the first time, I realized this wasn't just a betrayal of me, it was a pattern. Claire was a liar, through and through. To be continued in Part 7. After the call with Ethan, everything inside me shifted. The pain was still there, deep, raw, burning, but it was like a switch had flipped. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't stuck in that emotional fog. I was clear. I knew exactly who Claire was now. And I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of watching me break. So, I did something cold. Calculated. I started playing dumb. I wanted to see how far she'd go. How many more lies she'd stack on the pile before it came crashing down on her. That night, I made dinner. Candlelight, music, the whole bit. Claire looked surprised when she came home. "What's all this for?" she asked, cautiously. I smiled. "Just wanted to reconnect. Things have been tense." She paused, just for a second, but then gave me a sweet little smile. "Yeah. I think that'd be nice." We sat, we ate, we drank. She talked about her day at work, about Marissa's annoying client, and how she was thinking about a weekend getaway for the two of us. She looked me dead in the eyes while saying it. She didn't know I had already spoken to Ethan. That I knew everything. It was almost funny, if it wasn't so infuriating. Over the next few days, I kept it going. I acted warm, interested, supportive. I asked about her work, complimented her new dress, the one Ethan told me he bought her, and even planned a weekend trip like she suggested. But behind the scenes, I was gathering everything. Screenshots. Receipts. Bank statements. Hotel confirmations. GPS records from our shared phone account. Yeah, she forgot we were still linked. And then came the cherry on top. One night while she was in the shower, I synced her phone to my laptop. Backed up every single message, including the ones she had deleted. There were more than I expected. Texts with multiple guys. Ethan wasn't the only one. He was just the one who came forward. She wasn't just cheating. She was serial cheating. And yet, she still smiled across the table at me every night like I was her forever. Little did she know, the dinner table she sat at was about to become her courtroom. To be continued in Part 8. It was a Friday night when I decided to do it. I told Claire I'd made a reservation at her favorite restaurant, same place we celebrated our 3rd anniversary. She lit up like a damn Christmas tree. Finally, she said, brushing on lipstick in the mirror. "You're making an effort again." If only she knew. The whole day I felt this strange mix of calm and adrenaline. Like I was walking toward a courtroom where I already knew the verdict. Except this time, I was the judge. We sat near the window, overlooking the city skyline. Candlelight, wine, soft jazz. The kind of night people post on Instagram with the caption "blessed." Claire was in full performance mode. Laughing, flirting, reaching across the table to touch my hand. I watched her closely. I wanted to remember this version of her, the mask. Because tonight, I was going to rip it off. After the main course, I leaned back and said casually, "I've been thinking a lot about us lately." She perked up, hopeful. "Yeah?" "Yeah," I nodded. "Like, how we got here. All the things we've built. All the things we've survived." She smiled. "We've come a long way." I took a sip of my drink. Then placed my phone on the table. Screen up. Open to a photo. Her. In a hotel room. In that red lingerie. The one Ethan told me he'd bought her. She froze. Didn't blink. Didn't speak. Just stared. I didn't move either. I wanted her to sit in that silence. In that sinking, suffocating realization that this wasn't a romantic dinner. This was an execution. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Where? Did you get that?" "I have everything, Claire," I said quietly. "Every message. Every receipt. Every lie." She opened her mouth. Closed it. Swallowed hard. I continued, "And just so we're clear, Ethan told me everything. You didn't just cheat. You rewrote your whole life for months." She tried, but I cut her off. "Don't," I said, sharper now. "Just don't insult either of us with another lie." She sat back, pale. Exposed. Cornered. For once, the great manipulator had nothing left to say. To be continued in Part 9. After I laid the evidence on the table, literally, there was silence. A thick, choking kind of silence that fills your ears and presses against your chest like a weight. Claire just stared. Not at me. Not at the photo. Just blankly ahead like she was trying to reboot. Then it started. Tears. But not the kind I expected. Not explosive. Not remorseful. It was almost mechanical. Like she knew crying was the next logical move. Her voice cracked just enough to sound authentic. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. "I didn't say a word. I was lonely. You were always working. I didn't feel seen. I needed something." There it was. The victim narrative. I wasn't surprised. Disgusted, maybe. But not surprised. "You could have talked to me," I said. "You could have said any of this. Instead, you chose lies. You chose hotel rooms. You chose him. And apparently, more than one him." Her eyes widened. She wasn't expecting that. "You went through my phone?" she asked, shifting the blame like a reflex. "No," I replied coldly. "I went through the truth. Something you abandoned a long time ago." That's when her tears stopped, just like that. The mask came off. Fully this time. "You know what?" she snapped. "Fine. Yeah. I cheated. More than once. And maybe I didn't feel guilty. Because you stopped caring about me a long time ago." I stared at her. Not hurt. Not angry. Just done. "You really believe that?" I asked. "Or is that just the story you tell yourself to sleep at night?" She looked away. I stood up, dropped a $100 bill on the table, and said the words I never thought I'd say. This marriage is over. Her head whipped toward me. Wait, Jake, come on. You're not serious. I was never more serious in my life, I said. And then I walked out of that restaurant, into the cool night air, leaving behind the woman I thought I'd grow old with. Not because I didn't love her anymore, but because I finally loved myself enough to stop letting her destroy me. To be continued in Part 10. You'd think walking away would be the end of it. I sure hoped it would be. But when someone like Claire loses control, really loses it, they don't just accept it. They scramble. They manipulate. They perform. It started the next morning. 100 missed calls. Voicemails. Texts. Emails. She even sent a handwritten note to my office, which I didn't even know people still did. The messages were a roller coaster. One read. Jake, I'm sorry. I messed up. Please come home. We can fix this. Then the next. So you're just gonna throw away everything we had? Over a mistake? And then. If you think you're gonna find better, go ahead. But you won't. Classic manipulation tactics. Guilt. Gaslighting. Ego punches. She was playing every card in the deck. I didn't respond. But then came the twist I never saw coming. She showed up at my apartment, crying, mascara streaked, hair pulled back like she hadn't slept. I didn't even have time to react before she blurted out. I'm pregnant. For a second, everything stopped. I just stood there in the doorway, staring at her like my brain couldn't process the words. Pregnant? With who? I asked, almost automatically. She flinched. Yours. The timing. It could have added up. Maybe. But deep down, I knew. I want to believe you, I said. But coming from you? I need proof. Her eyes hardened. So now you think I'd lie about this too? Yes, I said flatly. Because you already have. She stormed off after that, cursing me out in the hallway, calling me heartless, cold, ungrateful. And maybe to her, I was. But I wasn't going to fall for it again. I wasn't the man who begged her to stay. I wasn't the one who questioned his worth while she made him feel small. I was the man who walked away. And if she was pregnant? We'd do a paternity test. We'd deal with it legally. But I wasn't stepping back into her world of lies and emotional traps. Not ever again. To be continued in Part 11. After Claire left that day, I was left with 1,000 thoughts racing through my mind. Was she really pregnant? Was this some last-ditch manipulation? Or maybe the truth after all? I knew I had to find out. So, I booked an appointment with a clinic for a paternity test, just to get answers. No matter how much I wanted to believe, I needed facts. A few days later, I received the results. And, honestly, it felt like the ground opened beneath me. The test was negative. Not my child. That moment broke something inside me, but also set something free. The lie was bigger than I ever imagined. Claire wasn't just cheating emotionally or physically, she was willing to use the idea of a child as a weapon. I called her immediately. Claire, I said coldly, the test came back. It's not mine. There was silence. Then, a weak, shaky voice. I was scared. I didn't know what else to do. I took a deep breath. I'm done with lies. Done with manipulation. Done with being your safety net when it suits you. The next few weeks were a blur. We barely spoke. When we did, it was all legal talk, lawyers, separation agreements, custody possibilities. The life we had built was unraveling fast. But through it all, I learned something important. I learned that love isn't just about holding on. Sometimes, it's about knowing when to let go. And that self-respect matters more than anyone else's happiness. So here I am, still healing, still figuring out what comes next. If you're reading this because you suspect something's wrong in your relationship, listen to your gut. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let anyone gaslight you into doubting yourself. You deserve honesty. You deserve respect. And above all, you deserve peace. To be continued in Part 12. After everything, the lies, the betrayal, the confrontation, I found myself standing in the quiet wreckage of my life. The apartment felt emptier, colder. The silence was deafening. But for the first time in months, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in a long time, hope. Healing wasn't instant. It wasn't a magical reset button. It was slow, painful, and often lonely. I leaned on close friends and family, people I'd neglected during the chaos of our marriage. They reminded me who I was before Claire, who I was underneath all the hurt and anger. Therapy was a game changer. I'll admit, I was skeptical at first. Talking about my pain, admitting vulnerability, it wasn't easy. But those sessions helped me unpack my feelings, understand the patterns, and rebuild my self-worth. I started focusing on myself, hobbies I'd abandoned, passions I'd shelved. I took up running again, something simple but effective. The rhythm of pounding pavement became a meditation, a way to clear my mind and reclaim my body. There were bad days, of course. Days when I'd catch a scent of her perfume on a shirt or hear a song that reminded me of us and feel that familiar sting. But I let myself feel those moments without judgment. Most importantly, I stopped blaming myself. Claire's choices were hers alone. Her deception was not a reflection of my worth. I also realized the importance of boundaries. I cut off contact with her completely, no calls, no texts, no social media stalking. It was a hard line, but necessary. Slowly, the darkness began to lift. I'm not fixed. I'm still healing. But I'm moving forward. If you're in the middle of a storm like this, remember, your pain is valid. Your feelings matter. And the path to healing starts with taking the first step, however small. To be continued in Part 13. One of the hardest things after betrayal isn't just the pain, it's learning to trust again. Not just trusting others, but trusting yourself. For months after Claire, I felt like I was wearing armor made of scars. Every time someone tried to get close, I flinched. I assumed they'd hurt me, lie to me, leave me. It was exhausting. Dating felt impossible. The idea of opening up to someone new was terrifying. What if they were just like her? What if I wasn't enough? What if history repeated itself? I knew I had to change that mindset. But it wasn't easy. Trust isn't something you flip on like a switch. It's a choice, every day. Therapy helped me with that, too. We worked on identifying my fears and understanding why I felt so vulnerable. It wasn't just about Claire's betrayal, it was about years of ignoring red flags and hoping love would fix everything. I started small, trusting friends with little things, being honest about my feelings, setting boundaries. I learned to listen to my gut without shutting down. Slowly, I realized that trust wasn't about being naive. It was about being courageous. About believing that not everyone will hurt you. That you deserve honesty, respect, and kindness. I'm not there yet. But I'm on my way. To anyone reading this who's been betrayed, healing trust takes time. Be patient with yourself. It's okay to be scared. But don't give up on love, or yourself. Because trust is the foundation of every relationship, and it starts within. To be continued in Part 14. After months of turmoil and healing, I found myself standing at a crossroads. Claire was out of my life for good. The house was quieter. The future uncertain. At first, the silence was suffocating. The nights felt endless, filled with memories and what-ifs. But slowly, that silence transformed into something else, a space to breathe, to think, to be. I started embracing solitude, not as loneliness, but as strength. I learned to enjoy my own company, to find peace in moments alone. I started journaling, putting my thoughts on paper, untangling the knots in my mind. I traveled alone for the first time in years, exploring places I'd always dreamed of seeing but never made time for. It wasn't about running away from pain. It was about moving toward a better version of myself. I discovered new passions, cooking, hiking, reading books I'd ignored. I reconnected with old friends and made new ones. I became the person I needed to be before Claire, before all the lies. Was it easy? Hell no. There were days I wanted to give up, to wallow in the past. But I kept reminding myself, this is my life now, and I'm the one who gets to write the next chapter. If you're going through something similar, don't fear the silence. Don't rush to fill the empty spaces with noise or distractions. Sometimes, the most powerful healing happens when you sit with yourself, really sit, and listen. To be continued in Part 15. Looking back on everything, every lie, every heartbreak, every sleepless night, I realize one thing clearly: betrayal changes you. But it doesn't have to break you. I learned that trust is fragile but rebuildable. It takes time, patience, and a lot of self-love. It's okay to grieve what you thought your relationship was. It's okay to feel angry, sad, confused. But don't let those feelings define you. I learned the importance of setting boundaries, clear, firm boundaries that protect your peace and your self-respect. Don't tolerate lies or manipulation. Don't convince yourself to stay for the sake of others. I learned that healing isn't linear. Some days are better, some worse. That's normal. And most importantly, I learned to love myself again. To value my worth beyond what anyone else thought or did. If you're reading this because you're going through something similar, here's my advice. 1. Listen to your gut. It's usually right. 2. Don't ignore the signs. Small doubts often signal bigger problems. 3. Talk to someone you trust. You don't have to carry this alone. 4. Set boundaries. Protect your heart and mind. 5. Take your time to heal. Don't rush forgiveness or decisions. 6. Remember your worth. You deserve honesty, respect, and peace. You will get through this. It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Thank you for following my story. If it resonated with you, please subscribe and share. Your support means the world, and it helps me keep telling these stories that matter. Remember, your peace is priceless. Protect it fiercely.